1%.
It's all about protecting the little guy, you know what I'm saying?
Pretty much, we're America, and if they were really patriotic, they'd give a fuck about us, but they don't, and it shows in all their policies. And if people don't do anything, that's just as good as treason to me. I think the biggest form of treason is just staying silent.
Yeah.
And even if it's the smallest thing, I think not getting educated is the worst mistake you can make in your life.
The mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Yes.
All right,
I don't know who said that first. It's good.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Totally cool. Okay. So are we on for Saturday?
The United States needs to change its foreign policy. Right now, our foreign policy is creating all of these people that are trying to hurt us right now. We're trying to solve our problems with the military, but you can't do it that way. This requires a change, a completely big change in our foreign policy, something that turns things around so that we stop creating the enemies. Right now, our actions in Iraq are creating enemies faster than we can kill them. It's our foreign policies that are doing this. All of these people are angry at us, and with good reason. We've got to stop that.
George Bush is a war criminal. He lied to the American public. He lied to the world. He lied to my son. Tens of thousands of people are dead because of him. I think he needs to be held accountable. I think he needs to be impeached and removed from office and tried for war crimes. And if anybody deserves to be held accountable for their crimes, it's George Bush, and I hope to one day see that happen.
Okay, let me just get a back shot.
And keep going, Sacramento.
Okay, and then tell us a little bit about, I didn't get the picture of your son in until just now. Okay.
Casey was 24 years old when he went to Iraq, and 5 days after he got to Baghdad, he was killed in George Bush's war of terror. So, you know, I don't want any more Casey Sheehans. I don't want any more Cindy Sheehans. I want the war to stop.
All right, we all got a lot of respect for that.
Thank you. The occupation, I want the occupation.
Right.
It's not a war, it's an illegal and immoral occupation.
Right.
Thank you, Sacramento.
All right.
My picture? Hey,
Hey, Jack. Hey, Jack.
Good, Mark. Keep doing it.
Now I'm getting my Camp Casey Peace Institute. I bought property in Crawford. We're getting the permanent infrastructure, and we're getting the philosophy and our goals all because when this war ends, they're planning another war, and we have to make sure that doesn't happen again. So we have to constantly work for peace. And I'm going to DC. We're having a big sit-in November 4th through the 9th. Gold Star Families for Peace. So we're inviting everybody from the country to come join us. Okay.
Okay, another thing that people tend to forget about, people think that the war is not a local issue, but it is a local issue. Think of all the things we could be doing with that money, solving our Sacramento's levee problems here. Sacramento has the biggest problem with potential flooding of all of the country, of all of the cities in this country. And if we weren't spending so much money on the military, we could be solving that. Think about what we could do with our children's schooling. We could cut classroom sizes. We could have all kinds of new programs for people. We could put air conditioning in the schools that need it. There are all kinds of ways that we are suffering because of the military problem here, because of the military budget. These things are local problems. They're not just national issues. We need to start thinking about this as a local problem rather than just a national issue.
Oh, okay. And anything else you want to say about, particularly about the Patriot Act or any of the policies that affect the country here rather than overseas?
Okay. Yeah, the Patriot Act. This is terrible. What's going on in this country? What kind of a country is this becoming? This is not my America. My America was a good America, America of values. Right now we got an administration that sanctions torture. Where in the world did that idea come from, sanctioning torture? And we've just taken away the rights of habeas corpus for a lot of people. that's a right to a fair trial and to know who your accusers are. This country is going in the wrong direction on a lot of important social issues. We are losing our civil rights. The president says that they hate our freedom, the terrorists. Well, his solution seems to be to take away our freedom, so therefore we won't hate them anymore. This is wrong. This is not American. This is frankly un-American. We need to change.
Are you going to ask him any questions or what?
Oh.
Felipe not against violence because violence is produce hate and hate is produce violence, and I hope that everybody can live with a dignity and respect and with a lot of peace.
And that's pretty much the reason why you come down to the
Yes, we have
protest?
to fight for peace.
Just general peace in the world then?
Yeah, against huge corporations.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
I just think there's a lot of different opinions here, but I think basically all of us agree that the world needs to be a more peaceful place.
All right. Any other general comments about maybe the Lebanon thing or Bush in general? Or?
Oh, it's just so sad that that it just that this is happening on top of everything else.
And what do you think it'll take to make a difference in this, other than people being aware of it and protesting and stuff? What do you think? What kind of action might stop these bad things from occurring?
Yeah, I think the only thing that's really going to make a difference, Bush doesn't care what the people say. So I think it's going to take him being voted out of, him leaving office and somebody replacing him, but I'm not real hopeful about who the alternatives are.
Right, so it takes a whole nother administration to change the course, basically. Then.
Yeah, maybe the next election will work, but it just seems like I'm not a real conspiracy kind of guy, but I just think the other side's got to win 55-60% just to win the election. It's when they promote democracy and you can't even trust the electoral process in this country, I think it's pretty sad.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Okay, great.
I'm out here because I oppose the war, and also that there are 47 million Americans that are uninsured, and there are also another exactly 35 million underinsured that are employed. And all the money that he's spending on this war, we can be insuring our children, our senior citizens. It shows that he just doesn't care. So we need to do something about this.
So he wants to let Medicare and tax put the bill for all
Exactly.
stuff and everything.
Exactly.
Right, okay. All right. And what do you think about the current situation in Lebanon related to the Bush administration?
I think the same.
Pretty much the same, like down with all that.
Pretty much the same,
huh?
down with it.
All right.
It's outrageous.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. Okay.
I feel bad that Bush has to make all these hard decisions, but that's your job. You're not doing your job. You're not a good Christian. If I could talk to him, I'd say Jesus hates you. Like don't preach about Jesus and then go kill a bunch of people that are innocent. So yeah, I guess that's it.
All right. Thanks.
All right, I would just say that recently General Casey and Khalilzad in the Green Zone of Baghdad had a press conference where they said, well, we'll let you know what happens in 12 or 18 more months over there. Well, that means 1,200 or 1,800 more dead Americans over there. And the question that nobody asked Bush is how many dead Americans and how many Iraqis, tens of thousands of Iraqis, are going to have to die before you admit that this was a failed policy of occupation, that anybody who knew anything about the Middle East going into this thing knew that there would be intense resistance to a Christian American Western country occupying that nation. It's historically, the British couldn't do it. You have the Palestinian occupation just festering, breeding more radicalism. And now what's happened is this is going to be something that we're going to have to pay for, not only in money, but in an unstable region for the next 10 or 20 years. The time is going to come when we will look back on this as being the biggest single mistake that any power made in the post-World War II era.
All right. Thanks.
I think Bush ought to just admit that he's whipped, he's going to have to retreat, and we're going to have to cut our losses and get out of Iraq. That's it.
All right.
I'm here protesting today due to all the innocent Iraqi civilians that have been killed over there in Iraq based on lies, and that's why I'm holding the Iraqi flag. I'm holding it in solidarity with the Iraqi people, and they should not be subject to war. They did not attack us, they didn't do anything wrong, and from the last numbers I heard, about 600,000 of them have died. So that's why I'm holding this flag here today.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay, another factor about this war is the cost of the war. Think of all the things we could be doing with that money. Right now, the United States is spending half of the world's money on the military. In other words, half of the entire world's budget, military budget, is spent by the United States. If we had that money, we could really do something about Katrina. We could really do something about cleaning up the environment. We could start a national plan to solve the global warming problem. We need to get everybody involved in this problem. Right now, we just don't have the money for that. But if we stop this war, we cut back on the military, that's something we could do. We could save the planet that way, rather than trying to destroy it with depleted uranium bombs and all the other kinds of things that our military money is being spent on.
And what do you say to people that say if we don't, spend exorbitant amounts on military money, that we'll be attacked, or that that our security will be down?
Yeah, some people are saying that, well, we need to fight them over there, otherwise we're going to fight them over here. This is short-sighted thinking. We need to change our policy so that we're not creating these enemies. These people are not just crazy, they have legitimate grievances. We're hurting the people of the rest of the world through our policies. We need to start thinking about ways to create a peaceful world rather than trying to impose peace through the military. Let's talk about having a Department of Peace where we would work toward creating peaceful solutions to a lot of these problems. That would be really what's needed for protecting America, so that we don't have to spend all this money on the military, so we're not creating enemies. That's what we need, a Department of Peace rather than a Department of War.
I'm here today because I'm appalled at the spread of violence in the Middle East. I'm horrified at the kind of actions Israel is taking towards. I'm here today because I'm in support of people who are protesting here that our government do something to start promoting peace in the world, not horror and terror and war. And I think that the escalation that's recently occurred in the Middle East is mainly something that we can attribute to our foreign policy and our unwillingness to abide by any national or international laws in the way that we have conducted our wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and clearly Israel is following in the same kind of footsteps right now. And I think that we have to take as many actions as we can to be on the streets, to make people aware, and to also change the people in our government's positions on this. I've been in D.C. For 2 weeks, and I was part of the Code Pink fast, still fasting, and will go back again. And we're in the halls of Congress. We're in there in the hearings on Guantanamo, on the confirmation of William Haynes, these horrible things that are taking place in our name in D.C. And as Congress people walk by, they look at the floor, they ignore us, and they're ignoring their constituents because the majority of people are saying no to this war, no to the aggression, no to supporting Israel in this aggression. And the whole world, as the visitors come to the White House when we're out there in Lafayette Park, as they come through, they say they cannot believe what the United States is doing. They can't believe we're not out in the streets in the millions. So this is our portion of the millions that need to be out on the streets. And I'm fasting in particular because I think it's a tool, a very effective tool. It's a historic tool. Half of the people in this country would not be voting at all if it weren't for the women suffragettes that's actually fasted actually did civil disobedience, were a small number, were called fools just like we are, and yet made a major change in the voting rights of half the population. So I think it's an important tool that has historic precedence in the United States.